All right, everybody. So this is a FITBANKER Healthy Relationships Masterclass. And what we do across the 12 weeks of this program is really get people to take the journey within where you truly connect with your authentic self. And part of that is peeling away and shedding away all that is not you. And it is my great honor and great pleasure today to have Sav with us, who is the executive director of a London-based philanthropic startup. Part-time writer. Actually, I'm going to remove part-time. She's a phenomenal writer, content creator with a specialism in disasters and development. And Sav, I've known Sav for many years. We first met when we did our FITBANKER retreat in Valencia in 2016 when I was 8 months pregnant, 7.5 months pregnant. We spent a beautiful 4 days together, trekked the Sierra Calderona mountains, just had such a phenomenal 4 days of waking up on the beach, doing 6 a.m. yoga, and just truly connecting at the level of soul. And Sav's been family since. And seen her go through multiple ventures, setting up her own vegan cafe and just being a stand for people and making a difference. And so Sav, you're obviously so accomplished in life. You've come so far. You make a difference to human beings, and yet you see limitations in the areas of relationships. So what were they, and how do they really impact your everyday life? How do they stop you in your everyday functioning?
First of all, thank you for that introduction. That was epic in itself. And actually it took me in the few weeks of this program, if you said that like 7 weeks ago, I would have thought, stop it, Amrika, you're just saying nice things because you're saying nice things. It's not because it's true. So that was number one. I think, yes, I have lots of accomplishments. I felt like, yeah, things are happening. I'm collected, I'm calm, I'm good at my work. I'm quite positive, but nothing was crazy out of control, but I definitely felt detached from my reality. So I felt like maybe I was clinging on to tragedies that happened in life, particularly from childhood, as we all do. I lost my mother suddenly at the age of 8, and that was definitely showing up. It was pretty much like programmed in my brain how I would then experience every day after that. I hadn't really grieved properly, and in everyday life I was just kind of sending myself signals about false truths that had happened, or that I was of who I was, and it was very subliminal. So if you told me that, I would have probably got offended like 7 weeks ago. But it's definitely something that I had carried through decades, and I knew from then, and that this was my promise in the first week of the program, is to transform my relationship with my own self, because that was really important to me, to reach a better place and a better understanding about my real self.
I love that, Sav. And everybody listening in on Facebook, there's so many golden nuggets in what Sav's just said, and just to recreate them, which is, we often don't realize those nails that are hammered into our foot that keep us stuck in the past. We're almost always reliving the past in various different versions. And yet if somebody calls you out on it, exactly like Sav said, you get deeply offended, because in your world, in your reality, everything is fine. You're coping, you're getting ahead. Heck, you've got a brilliant resume to demonstrate, and it's the best evidence you have of how successful you are. And yet, true to yourself, that deep down when you're by yourself, there's something that's not yet quite complete. And just to create for everybody, I do have Soham over here as well. So I'm rocking the bouncer with one foot. So life of new mums, or hashtag mompreneurs in the making. So actually, I'm just going to grab it. Bear with me for a second, guys. All righty. So in discovering and becoming aware of certain aspects that you hadn't fully dealt with, and how it almost paints or flavors every essence of your existence, relationships, with, and I don't just mean romantic, folks, I mean with career, with friends, with every and anyone, your choices, what you go on to do, these incompletions we have in our lives, or these unhealed aspects, most certainly those listening in will impact and limit you, because you're coming from a place of compensating. You're coming from a place of trying to make things happen. It's almost like a bicycle trying to move ahead when its spokes are either not there or are broken or are just very loosely fit. And so I love, Sab, that you came onto the program to really shift that relationship to yourself. And in the 9 weeks we've been here so far, what's showing up for you? What are the breakthroughs you're causing?
So I recognize the limits I've placed on myself. One of them was, I don't even know how to like, they're so in within me that it's almost hard to say exactly like, oh, this is how tangible it all is, because I think it's huge. It's just huge. And it's just every moment from when I wake up to when I sleep, everything is different. I'm just seeing myself in a different way. I'm kinder to myself. I'm experiencing life on kind of like a higher vibration. So to put that into words is really difficult, but I can give you examples. And the topic here is about the authentic voice. So I've always known, my father was a writer, or he is a writer, sorry. And I've always loved writing since I was, could ever pick up a pencil. And I always told myself in every job, I want to be writing more, communicating more, whatever. But I never did it. And I guess I had limitations. I thought, oh, what if people don't want to hear? What if people this? What if people that? And all these what ifs, and it all just came from me, because every time I wrote, everything was fine, or I'd hide behind other people's platforms. So I'll write for someone and then see them thrive. So what I've been doing is just being open and accepting invites. Number one is speaking here. I'm really happy to be here and talk about my experience. But there are a number of other things that I've been invited to. So I was speaking on a podcast about BAME women. That should be released soon. I'll share that. Yesterday, I was interviewed by someone writing a book for Richard Watson, who's a futurologist, about my kind of meditation or how I think. So that was like even a topic that's like way out of my realm. And I've moderated a documentary screening, and I'm talking about like in the last 3 to 4 weeks. That's not even, so it's definitely linked to the program. I see myself as someone with something worth saying, which was probably what I was missing the most before. And then Ambika, as you know, the largest breakthrough that I've had was I went on an aid trip to Beirut. So that's kind of part of a part-time, special interest work thing that I do. And we gave out aid, as you do, and we were with the people and really responding to the situation there. And I noticed nobody was really writing about Indian migrant workers. There were various articles floating about migrant workers. I thought that no one's talking about the Indian community in Beirut. And I think there's about 9,000 plus. And what was happening is a lot of them were affected hugely by the change in the economy, the situation with their employers, who were essentially keeping them as modern day slaves. So I just took an evening off, told my colleague, I'm going to be out. I'm just going to interview a few Indian workers. Met some guys from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, and then put together an article. It got published in an independent outlet. And what I didn't know, which was phenomenal, and it took me about 2 weeks to even digest this information, is within a few hours, the Beirut Indian embassy got wind of the article because it had been shared by multiple people. And it reached them, and they saw it as a huge PR disaster, and immediately said they would, or within hours, they said they will release 750 workers on their list from having to pay fines. They'll give them temporary passports if their employers held on to them. So essentially giving them some freedom to return home and not be trapped. And that was huge. And then since then, thousands more are coming forward. We're trying to organize flights for them back home. So yeah, so it's almost like unbelievable, even as I say it. But I don't think this is all a coincidence. I think I was meant to just be so comfortable in myself and who I was and what I have to say, and that I have something worth saying, and the value of my thought process and my voice and everything else that comes with it. So yeah, it's a huge outcome, and I think it's a testament to show that if you really are aligned within, then there's a reason that the universe wants that for a reason. And I think this was one of the reasons for me. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Sav. There's so much in there. So I just want to tease out a few of the amazing things you shared. One is you experiencing being kinder to yourself. And everybody listening in, I want you to consider that we are a generation who blame everything. Every disaster in our life is down to our parents and our upbringing. And you'll have personal development spaces that will tell you about the same. And it's just a nasty, vicious cycle. But guess what? Even more than blaming your parents, we are masters at self-loathing, at being our worst critiques. You know, if what our parents did was down to them, you know, not being masters at parenting and figuring it out on the job, then guess what? We are tenfold more harsh to ourselves than how our parents were ever to us when we were growing up in our formative years. And what Sav touches on, the first point she said was being kinder to herself, is in itself a huge breakthrough. And everybody listening in, think about the number of times in a day you put yourself down. The number of times in a day you criticize yourself, you make yourself wrong, you call yourself labels that are negative energy because you've simply not done something as per design, or things didn't work out, or you failed, or something unexpected show up and you reacted a certain way. That nastiness that we have with ourselves is what we put out there. And when the world manifests it, we then blame it on the world. We say, oh, he broke my heart, or she dented my car, or that person cost me my job, or this person, you know, did not respect me as their boss, or as their partner, or as their daughter, or as their mom, whatever, right? We blame the world for the nastiness we see, but guess what? You are manifesting it 100% because of the relationship you have with yourself. The second thing you talk about, Sav, is getting connected to your true authentic voice. And as it is the topic of today, again, that is something that most of us are so disconnected to. And I know for myself, guys, that I've spent a decade plus, or not even a decade, I'm going to say basically my whole life till I was in my early 30s, fulfilling a pipeline dream based on childhood conditioning. And I often talk about this in my Monday morning lives, where you get asked as a kid, what do you want to become? And it's simply whatever you hear others say, and you parrot it, you mimic it, without having any concept of what that actually looks like, or what being a doctor or an accountant or an engineer or a lawyer would actually entail. And then when you get to university and then you're actually hitting the books and doing the exams, understanding what that job entails, there's such a misalignment. But yet you continue to do it, and you suppress that little voice in your head that says, this is not me. Because heck, you put it out there in the world. You don't want to look stupid. You don't want to look like a failure. So you carry on doing it. Right through my PhD, when I was doing my PhD, I did my doctorate in gynecology and obstetrics, for those that don't know my background. And I started off in New Zealand, and then finished it off in Australia. And right through that period, all of my closest mates would say, you are so not a biomedical scientist by nature. You're outgoing, you're constantly, you know, amongst others, people and relationships and, you know, engagement skills and connectivity is where you thrive. You're not somebody designed to be cooped up in a lab in a white coat, coming up with new inventions and discoveries. And sure, you may be good at it, but it's not an area where you come alive. And I never heard it when they would say it. And I got it when I moved here, and then 10 years ago transitioned careers and moved into development sector. Again, still trying to discover my authentic voice. And I got one step closer, and now here we are, running this healthy relationships program, but more so standing for transforming humanity. And it takes a lot. So what Sav is saying may sound so cliche at times when we say, I discovered my voice, and therefore her showing up in Beirut, writing an article one evening after speaking to people, didn't just come out of her having free time and twiddling her thumbs, came from a real calling where she's a stand that nobody's abandoned, where she's a stand that every single person gets to live a life of dignity. And that's huge. She didn't put in the stats, but it was 750 migrants that got, what was it, Sav, temporary release paper documents, and they got to get back to the country.
Yeah, essentially a legal way out. Yeah.
And there's still 9,000 something migrants that are trapped there. That's huge. And it all comes down to her penning, putting down her passion, her expertise, her voice on paper, knowing that, heck, this will make a difference. The number of times we sell out on taking any action because we think, I'm only one person, what difference can I make? Well, guess what? You're not one person. That's the biggest myth you get sold. We are a collective human race where this conscious energy connected to each other. And the minute you think, I am one person, I'm an individual, you sell out on magic and miracles ever showing up in your life. I love that, Sav. That's amazing. So given that you're kinder to yourself, and guys, if you have questions, everybody listening in on Facebook, put your questions down below. Ask her about her journey. Ask, anything that shows up for you. What is your authentic voice? Where are you stuck? Where are you stopped? Where are you just selling out on living life every day, mechanistically, routinely, having, joy, fun, aliveness sucked out of it? What's there for you? What's holding you back? So while you're reflecting on that, audience, Sav, question for you. Standing and being kinder to yourself, what are 3 things you're totally grateful for about yourself since the start of the program? And I also want to share a bit more context on why I asked this question. It's because we're so, like I said, stingy with ourselves, is that we rarely acknowledge our own self. Now, many of us have gotten rusty with the gratitude tool entirely. And some of us that are practicing gratitude daily still don't acknowledge our own selves. And the moment we can start acknowledging our own selves, we get to be our biggest champions. And that truly is our biggest wealth. It shifts the energy at the cellular level within every single one of us when we're functioning at the level of gratitude, because it brings abundance in our lives. So Sav, what are 3 things you absolutely love about yourself since you started this program? Be generous.
About myself or about the program?
About yourself on this journey of the program.
Okay, so the first one is something I always preached at work was we all have to learn from each other in the community. We can't help each other in the world if we don't understand each other. And that was always my thing: storytelling, messaging, bridging divides, fostering understanding between people. And I don't think I was really practicing that in my personal life. So I had it theoretically all there, and I was putting it to practice at work through community projects. And this is the first time I was like, wow, I'm experiencing it too. The program is designed, I don't know how many participants there are, 10 or something, 8 or 10. But everyone comes in with their own reasons for doing the program. And you've heard a bit about mine, but literally everyone is so unique, and everything they share is on an open platform, really safe and secure. And I have hugely valued how much I can learn from the experience of others. So some are mums of newborns, some are mums of older kids, some are amazing executives, wives. I'm just learning so much from what they're sharing, and I really believe that it's just it's like the boost. It's like the booster for me. So it's like so different to learning one-to-one about what I need to do about myself, but it's like just the added knowledge and the sharing is incredible. So that's number one. Number two is just the toolbox. So every week we have new exercises, new I was going to say sermons, like Ambika's like a spiritual person giving a sermon, but basically she does that. Yeah. And they instill really wonderful ideas that we take away, and then we build, and we make them habits, and then they turn into actual beliefs. So I really feel that that is a super valuable thing to have, her toolbox of that she's designed, and the time you've taken to design that. We really all appreciate that. I think I can speak for us all, but it's really given me the opportunity for the first time in my life to kind of feel like I have this complete program, to feel like I'm in charge now. I can light my own path. I'm not just following this dark path in life. So yeah. And then number three is I will not lie, I was like, should I sign up? I don't have any problems with people. I have good relationships. I never get angry. I'm really like kind and compassionate. And I was like, why would I spend money on doing a program that I am definitely seeing the ROI and seeing the returns every day? And it's exceeded my expectations. So I'm incredibly grateful that that I could make the investment and that it's paying off. Yeah.
Gosh, I love that. I am, number one, hiring you as my PR. Thank you. That was amazing. The third point you said is something I really want to go deep on. Why should I do it when I kind of get along with people anyways? And here's a question for you all is, what's the cost of you not dealing with those areas that are not working so well? So of course, doing this program doesn't mean you're broken, guys. Doesn't mean you have disaster in your life. Doing this program simply means you're committed to going further. You're committed to going deeper. You're committed to not dealing with the little things that keep us up at night or bring that tension in our everyday moment. Like, what would it look like to just release, let go, and commit unconditionally to happiness in this moment? And that only comes from education. That only comes from inner engineering. That comes from delving into ancient wisdom, which has always been there, but we've just become so disconnected to it as a human race. And so that commitment you bring to yourself is what you get to then benefit from, where you put yourself into the school of love, into this community, this tribe who are all committed to the same thing. And it's almost like putting yourself in a pressure cooker. Only when you go through that intense structure do you come out cooked, baked, a different version of yourself, because you've shed away all the rawness, you've shed away all the fakeness. And that's what a cohort, a structured education system gives you access to. And many people reach out for coaching, and I did a story on this yesterday, but of course the last 24 hours is probably gone, which is multiple people reach out for coaching, and we're always going to be here for you. However, if you're expecting a quick fix to issues you have, then I'm sorry to say there is no quick fix. You may get an instant release in that moment, and a quick boost when you're feeling low or broken or hurt or confused or stuck or angry through a coaching call. But you really want to commit to something long-term to get to why you even have those breakdowns in the first place. Where else do they show up? No relationship ever exists independent to others. You think you have a breakdown just with your partner, pause and look everywhere else. The triggers there most certainly will show up in every or almost every other area of your life if you're actually pausing and committed to growing and weeding out all that doesn't work for you. So Sav, last question, and I'm conscious of time. That is, what's been your absolute highlight of the program so far?
I think I mentioned it before, but just the bigger picture. I'm really excited to take every conversation, every method that we're learning, everything forward. And I guess my renewed outlook of life, that's really a big thing I'm taking away. It's huge. So this isn't the last time you're going to hear from me, and I wouldn't have said that before. You'll see more from me, and I just really excited to put myself out there and learn from the personal work I've been doing, the stuff I've been learning from other people's shares, the group, seeing more results like in Lebanon. I mean, that was phenomenal. And yeah, I don't think the timing is a coincidence for how I'm feeling as a result of these few weeks. So yeah, just the whole big picture. Yeah.
Thanks so much. So for everybody listening in, that was incredible. That was Sav. And this is, I've known Sav for so long, and she's a very private person. So for Sav to come and say yes right away to doing a Facebook Live and just sharing her journey and sharing such intimate parts of her journey is in itself huge. Just want to acknowledge you and say thank you from the bottom of my heart for just being the contribution of everybody that's shown up on the live today. There are no questions, there are comments from Zambia, which is, there is power that maketh all things new. It lives and moves in those who know the self as one. Indeed. And that's something we're going to do in webinar 10, where we truly get to disappear all that keeps us separate from one another and discover love in our wholeness, in our existence. So hey Nisha, hey Drumita, there's so many others that have scrolled up and I can't actually see them just yet. But Sav, a huge thank you once again, and everybody else listening in. Our second cohort, so these guys, and just to create the context again, Sav and the 9 others, we had 10 people who joined our pilot healthy relationships program. And relationships is one of the 5th pillars that we educate you on when you take on your health transformation in the 90-day challenges with FITBANKER. And people would just demand for that relationships module to be a standalone program in itself because they found so much value in it. And we heard that for the last 2 years, and we finally created this whole new 12-week program called Healthy Relationships Program. The pilot launched in July, and we had these 10 pioneers who took a punt in us, who through our existing relationships, through their trust in us and in the universe, jumped on board and have really co-created this program, have really co-created a space that's now paving the path for the thousands that are going to follow suit. So Sav, thank you for being a pioneer, a catalyst for change, an inspiration, an influencer. We love you so much. Keep shining, keep being your truth, keep making a difference everywhere you go. And it is through all that you experience, all the losses, that you get to gain who you truly are for yourself. So big hugs and loads of love. And everybody on Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in.
How do we do this?
See you, everybody. Thank you.